All right, let's see if this is working today. All right, we're alive. So we got today a sub-2 deal. Figure I'd just underwrite it for all of you and just talk out loud while we talk through it. Okay, this is 3338 Southeast Street in Ocala, Florida, 34471. $245,000. You have your PITI of 1489.23. It's a 3.525% interest rate that you're taking over the loan subject to the existing financing. Entry fee is 40 grand. Does not include transaction coordination costs or closing costs, so just be careful. 1,600 square feet. No HOA, no pool. 1489. So your total payment, including the solar payment, is 1749.23. That's what you're going to care most about. All right. Here's your loan details right here on the existing loan. It's an FHA loan, so that sometimes means you have to self-perform the close. So just be really careful about that. They're saying the long-term rental here is $2,090. All right. Let's take a quick look at the photos. Looks okay. Looks relatively turnkey. Not much rehab based on the photos, at least. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Let's go ahead and get the rents here. So for this property, let's go ahead and look up the county first. What county is this in? I usually just go to Redfin and I just look up county right here, and it's in Marion County. So when I Google HUD FMR, because I'm looking for the rent ceilings there, I am going to click on the first result, and I'm going to click on access to small area FMRs. And then I'm going to click on look up FY 2024 FMRs, Florida, Marion County. And this way I can get sort of the rent ceilings here for the area. And this is 34471. 34471. You're going to see that the rent ceiling here is $1,700. And a 4-bedroom is $1,860. So that very, very little lift, $160. That's probably not worth all the renovations that I would have to go through. But $1,700 is relatively low. And sometimes if that includes utilities, then that's not going to set you up for a very good amount. So let me go ahead and write these ones down so that we can see what they are. Let's delete these. And then 34471. 34471. That was for a 3-bed. Boom. I just like noting down all these numbers because just in case I ever come across another property, I can quickly refer to the zip code and see what I have found already in this area the last time I analyzed the property and zip code. Just trying to be efficient with my time. So now that I got the rent ceilings, quote unquote, I want to get the market rent. So when you go to affordablehousing.com, go to the owner section, go to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in a bedroom count. The most important number that you want to pay attention to is this number here on the bottom right. It says that for 25 units within a 0.79 mile radius, the average rent is $1,815. $1,815. That was 0.79 mile radius. I like to write all these details down because my partners already know how I analyze the deals. So this saves them a little bit of time in case I ever send them over a deal and they know exactly what to look for. I'm just staying consistent with my habits here. And now it's for a 3-bedroom. Let's check it out for a 4-bedroom. Do you see a big lift? No. See, that's why you didn't see a big lift for a 3 and a 4. Even the market rent doesn't justify it. So I'm not even going to worry about writing down the numbers for a 4-bedroom. All right. Now that I got all these numbers in here, I got the rent ceiling and everything. Now I can go ahead and analyze this deal with the existing loan in place. So for this property, it's a 3-2. I'm going to plug in existing loan, which is $205,000. And for those of you that are following on Instagram, you want to see the full screen version, just go ahead to youtube.com/@Kent_HE, and you can see me plugging in all these numbers here. So let me go ahead and try to put this all together. $205,000. I'm trying to put it all in one screen so you guys can follow. 3.525% interest rate. This started at 1/1. This is going to mature on 1/1/2052. So I'm going to assume it started 30 years earlier at 1/1/22. Okay. Now, is there a solar lien? There's a solar payment of $260. So it is not lien, but the solar company is in active bankruptcy. So there is a chance this $260 could fall off. That's confusing. So that can make it a deal or not deal, but all right. Well, I'm going to put in this payment in here as 260 and include it in the 1740. So that's how I'm going to account for it. I'm going to zero this out for this loan because I don't have the exact payment here. But here's how I'm going to put it in. All right. We got $40,000 for our transaction costs, $40,000. And for this property, I'm just going to assume I need to repaint the place. And that was 1642 square feet. So I'm going to zero out everything on my rehab spreadsheet. 1642. I don't need to replace the flooring. I got $1,500 for the roof right here. $500 for some landscaping, keep the property clean. And then I'll probably replace one of the toilets with a high pressure flush toilet. That's okay. I don't need anything else. So that gives me, do I have anything else in here? Yeah, I got the entire paint job. You know what? I bet only half the house needs to be painted. I want to be a little bit more aggressive here because the pictures look pretty good. So I got $6,000 for rehab on this property, which is plenty based on the photos, at least, because there's some things I'm not seeing. Now, the purchase price for this property is going to be $245,000. $245,000. Rehab already got the rent. What do we get for rents, right? I'm going to take the lower of the two. So I'm going to put $1,700. Chances are it might even be lower if you don't provide any utilities, but I'm just putting $1,700 for now. Because all I need to see is whether or not this is even close to being a deal, right? That's the whole point of this underwriting exercise right now, is to figure out whether or not this is worth my time to send someone out there and get me a better bid, to walk the property, etc. All right. So now that I got my details right here, here's how I'm plugging in the numbers. See how where it says 1749.23 is the total payment? I didn't worry about getting the solar payment amount correctly because all I'm trying to do is make sure that it still cash flows. So if I go to the property tax number right here and I do equals 1749.23, which is what the disclosed total payment amount is, I'm going to subtract that by the principal and I'll subtract that by the interest payment of the subject to loan that we're taking over. And that leaves me with essentially the solar payment, the escrow payment for insurance and taxes. And because this property is in Florida, I'm going to assume Florida insurance is going to keep going up every single year. So I'm going to add an extra $50 in there because I've heard of it going up 200, 300% in Florida. And that's absolutely insane. That's why I personally don't invest in Florida, but it doesn't mean that, hey, it's not a good market and it's just my personal preference. All right. So I'm going to set aside 10% of the rent every single month for maintenance because something always breaks. What if another hurricane hits and damages the roof and causes a leak, blah, blah, blah. So you got to set aside money every single month for maintenance because the HVAC is going to get replaced, the water heater is going to get replaced at some point, and this money does not belong to you. That's where a lot of people say, oh, this deal cash flows, but they always forget that they have to set aside money for maintenance because in my opinion, that money doesn't belong to you. You know, as a matter of fact, that's something that has to get replaced at some point. So it's really irresponsible for you to underwrite a deal without any maintenance or CapEx. I got 8% for property management, might be a little low, and I got 5% for vacancy right here. And that gives me a negative $490 cash flow a month. So this is assuming you keep it as a 3-bedroom, you're renting out as a $1,700 property, and you are going to cash flow negative $490. And assuming your transaction cost or entry fee is the same thing with a 2% closing cost and a roughly $59 renovation, that's going to give you a negative 11.6% cash and cash return, assuming your purchase price was $245,000 with a rehab amount of $5,900. Does that make sense, everybody? Hopefully this exercise helps to provide some clarity on one, if you were to just look at this on a surface level, right? And usually I'm not saying this person presented this way. If you go, hey, the long-term rental is $2,090, and they say, hey, this cash flows because the total PITI is $1,750, that's usually how people make mistakes. It might be an honest mistake, but it's also how some people mislead other folks. Now, if you take that approach, you might think you're cash flowing, but in reality, you're not. And for Section 8 purposes, the $1,700 of the FMR is actually below the PITI. So that doesn't work. If you were to go market rent, maybe you can make it work, right? You can plug this into $2,090 if everything goes well, but you're still losing money because of your expenses, right? You have to set aside money every single month for maintenance. And some folks will say, well, I'll just manage the property on my own. Well, I'd like to challenge you about why did you even get into real estate? Probably for financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of choice, so that you can spend your time with other people. And you can't do that if you don't have property management in place or have a team in place to do the asset management. So if you don't have that set aside, then you are essentially buying yourself a job. And I'm pretty sure that's not why we got into real estate. At least that's not for me. So if you don't underwrite with property management, you will never be able to get out of it until rent either has caught up or you figure out another way to give an equity share and maybe you have somebody else run it for you. So if you don't underwrite it for now, you limit your exits. So I will highly, highly advise you look at a deal holistically and completely with all of the expenses. And finally, there has to be vacancy, right? At some point, the tenant will probably move out. They might, even for Section 8, they might stay 2.5 years. They might stay 7 years, 10, 15, 20 years. But eventually someone moves out. So this money also doesn't belong to you because you're going to have to turn over the unit. And you're going to have to be wise about setting aside some of this money aside because, again, it's very important for you to understand that this money does not belong to you. And I think that's really the point I want to drive home today. All right. So today is day 215. The whole point of why we do this is so that you guys would do this alongside with me. My sincere goal is that you guys, if you don't know how to get started or don't know where to get started, my simple advice is just to copy my homework. That's it. Look at the same property I analyzed today using the same spreadsheet. Just DM me your email on Instagram at @InvestWithKentHe, and my assistant Pia, she'll get in a few hours and she will send you the spreadsheet. I've been very fortunate. I've been given that spreadsheet by the folks. I just modified it and tweaked it for what I do for Section 8 and long-term rentals specifically. That's it. I don't try to overcomplicate it with so many different cells because I know this is what I need to make a decision quick and fast. And as you get better and better at analyzing these deals, you will get better and better and faster at ruling out deals. We've had plenty of videos where we talk about how do you quickly look at a deal in probably less than 30 seconds and decide whether or not it's worth your effort. And that's how we avoid burnout, right? Burnout comes from doing a ton of work without any sort of return on your time, on your investment. So if you develop that habit of analyzing a deal every single day, just remember, all it takes is 18 minutes a day for 365 days. And all of a sudden, you'll be better at analyzing deals than 95% of the country. And that's it. Copy my homework if you don't know where to start. And again, this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments. I'm simply thinking about the day when I started and how scared I was about hiring a wrong contractor, about losing money. And the only way we can build that confidence is if we develop a track record, the evidence that we know what we're doing. So even if you're shy, when you copy my homework, you can put it on your own YouTube channel. You could put it as unlisted so no one can ever find it unless you share that with them. And then when a partner asks you in the future, hey, why do you think this is a deal? Well, you can point them to your own YouTube channel at that point in time and say, well, I know this is a deal because I looked at the past deals for the past 215 days, and those were not deals. You know what's a great skill? How to spot what's not a deal. So you never lose money. Now, can you prevent everything? No. But this is why we have the Affordable Housing Real Estate Investing Podcast. We brought on contractors from Kansas City, from Detroit, from Atlanta, from Alabama. All these contractors are there that have come on the podcast so that you can at least understand what your first step is. Sometimes that first step is the hardest. But if you know at least, hey, I can go get a bid from this, and at the very minimum, I can have something to compare it to, at least now you're not starting from square one. And that's the whole intention of this. It's so that we all can be a little bit less afraid together. We can all improve together, lift. And my sincere goal is that you look at the analysis that we did today and just pick one section, do it better than I did. Pick a better analogy, clarify something a little bit more. Just do it better than I did, because this is how we make each other better. And thank you so much for being part of the affordable housing real estate investing community. Because without people like you guys, I would never have the home I grew up in. So thank you so much, everybody. I'll be back here again for tomorrow for day 216. Let's keep it going, everybody. Have an amazing day. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. Have a happy Thursday, everybody.